Bonjour tout le monde, je m'appelle Patrick Cossette de Profilprog. Aujourd'hui, j'ai le plaisir de recevoir Crownlands pour parler de leur nouvel album et d'une foule d'autres sujets. Hi, I'm Patrick Cossette from Profilprog in Quebec. Today I'm joined by Crownlands. We're going to talk about the new album and a lot more. So, on va continuer en anglais pour l'entrevue. So, let's switch to English. So, hi guys, hi Kevin, hi Cody.
Hey, how's it going?
Great, going great. And you?
Good, good, good. Thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank you for taking the time to do this interview. I really appreciate it. Well, first of all, I had a sneak preview of your new album that's coming out in a few days, I think. It's congratulations. It's a really great album. It's one of your best work. People are gonna love the epic title track that you've already released, but maybe not everyone has heard it yet. Apocalypse, which is the name of your new album. And also, there's a song that's always stuck in my head for a few days, Through the Looking Glass. It's
Hey,
wonderful melody, wonderful sound. So it's awesome. Congrats, guys.
awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much, man.
I have a first question. Was this new album written and recorded differently compared to your previous classic prog album, Fearless? Maybe since you're now with Inside Out Music, or is there anything else that's new or has changed since the last album?
Definitely, man. So the last album, Fearless, was the last album we recorded under Universal Music Canada. And we had to make that record in their studio built into their corporate office building in Toronto for budget reasons. And, I think it was one of those records that you make despite the environment rather than because of the environment. And I think we had to rise over like a few challenges of an atmosphere that was not conducive to making art. And we came away from that experience knowing that we did not want to record in a studio like that in the future. And the Ritual albums that we recorded, I guess Ritual 2 in particular, was recorded, was written, recorded, and mixed all in our studio by ourselves over the course of like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I guess.
Oh, wow.
And it was a freeing experience where Cody and I realized we could actually just sit down and collaborate and trust ourselves to oversee the entire creative and technical process from start to finish. And that album received, mixed reviews because it confused a lot of people. Where I'd argue it's one of the most progressive pieces of music that we've put out, where it's entirely instrumental. It embraces polyrhythms more than anything else we've done, and also, I mean, it's kind of a departure in terms of genre, right? It's not as beholden to heavy progressive rock as it is to world music and ambient music. Um, but that gave us the confidence to go into making Apocalypse, for taking on more of the production and technical side ourselves, and we still weren't quite there with trusting ourselves and trusting each other for a few of those final decisions, and those final decisions are always the vocals, the top line. It's the hardest thing to get right on a record when you introduce vocals because when you smile, what's the first thing people see is your smile. They're not looking at your eyebrows, they're not looking at anything else. And the vocal is very much that uh, in a musical sense. And we went to our longtime collaborators, Nick Raskulinecz and David Bottrell, for help on those final, vocal decisions, for the most part on this record. And that led us, to do the majority of the instrumentals in the same studio space as we did Ritual 2. And that gave us a lot more control over the final product, where the guitar tones and the drum sounds are the sounds that we intended to have from the minute to record, right? That decision to record this album ourselves. And so there weren't as many compromises to the structure and arrangement of the music on this record as there would have been in the past. Not to say there were significant
but just
compromises,
less,
but
yeah,
just
just less
less.
than
Yeah, just
before.
less.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the environment helped a lot to achieve this. I would say to get this result, like it was more straightforward. It was more in your, I would say, in your way of doing things. It
Yeah.
was,
Yeah,
yeah,
making a Crownlands record is never straightforward.
Yeah, but
Uh,
it was more on our terms than ever
yeah.
before.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You talked about Retail 1 and Retail 2. I was wondering where did this idea come from to make an album of this kind of music? And is this something that you intend of doing again in the future, or do you have anything in mind
Yeah,
about that?
totally. Well, we both really like world music. I particularly love world music a lot, even more than rock music these days. I studied West African Ghanaian hand drumming, dancing and singing for 5 years in university. And over the course of the pandemic, I got these pentatonic flutes from my friend Charlie, who runs the company Blue Bear Flutes. And he sent me a few. We met him when we toured the Who, the Mongolian rock band across the states a couple years ago. I guess more than a couple years ago now. But after that, we kept in touch. And over the course of the pandemic, he sent me these pentatonic flutes, and I started playing them. And I got quite good at them to the point where I would bring them to the studio. And then one day we were like, man, we should make some music with this, like Crownlands music, Because when Kevin and I first started playing together, we decided that anything that we would do together would be considered Crownlands, whether it's, rock, disco, pop, whatever. If it's both of us, it'll be Crownlands. And so we kind of were like, does that still apply here? We're gonna make this music, right? Like it's gonna be Crownlands, right? Yeah, yeah, for sure. So we decided to combine these two different worlds of world music, ambient synthesizers, and we went to work on making demos for Ritual One, and that's kind of where it came from for the initial bit. Um, and we just kept loving this stuff that we were making. We banked a few demos. One of them didn't make it on the first record. A couple years went by, and then we decided to revisit this again after the Fearless record. And then we started working on Ritual 2. And that's the one that we did all ourselves. It was the first one we did with Justin Melly as the producer. But the second time around, we decided to do it ourselves, and we had no real demos except for one we just pulled from the Misfit demo off the first record that never made it, and then we turned that into Celestial Marsh on Ritual 2, and yeah, we just really love making that music. It comes so easy. We made that second record front to back in like a couple weeks. Like, like it just flows. Especially these these riffs and drum cadences are just so hard baked, they just flow out. So you just gotta press record and we can make something like that, which is such a change of pace because usually when we make songs, like Kevin was saying earlier, the vocal is the hardest part, right? So our songs take so much longer. Like our full band songs take so much longer to make in comparison. But it's something that I think we can always dip back into if we want to. I don't think we're going to be doing that in the near future, but the door is always open. Especially we set a precedent with the numbering system, right? So if
Mhm.
there's a ritual one, there's a ritual two, then maybe there's a ritual three, who knows, right? But we can always go back there whenever we want.
That's what I thought. I was expecting the Ritual 3 someday. So
Yeah.
you don't close the door for this, okay?
Yeah.
Got it. You'll see what all of your work leads you, and you're open to this. Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back to Fearless, to the Fearless thing, because in a recent press release, you said, I don't know if it's Kevin or Cody, but that the present album, Apocalypse, you said that the album finishes with the promise of Fearless returning on the next one. So I was wondering, how is that theme going to come back and where?
It's a great question. So we can't reveal too much, but Fearless, the album, more so Starlifter Fearless Part 2 is Fearless's story. Apocalypse is Black Star's story. And this next record we're working on is the great showdown between these two characters across time and space. And it's coming along, man. It's sounding pretty cool. We've got the heaviness of Apocalypse, the polyrhythms of the rituals. It's gonna be good, dude. It's gonna be really good.
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
Hmm.
Um, you do a lot of you do a lot of concept albums. Well, I consider them concept albums with Black Star, with Fearless. When you work on a concept album, do you usually start with the lyrics, the story, or the music first, or it depends?
It's
We
usually
usually
the music and the story, and then the lyrics come last because you have to fit them into what other messed up rhythms we've come up with.
exactly. Yeah, it's like a puzzle. And it's like, okay, let's try to make it sound coherent.
Cool, thanks. Um,
Hmm.
I have only one question about Rush in this interview. I guess you're used to
Nice.
getting just questions about Rush. My question is simple. Is being compared to Rush, because you guys are compared to Rush, and I, in my mind also, is being compared to Rush more of a blessing or a curse for you?
Blessing.
It's a blessing. They're the best band in the world. Obviously, when you get compared to the best band in the world, you're always going to fall short. But that's not a curse. That's just literally it's a blessing that you get to exist in the world with the best band in the world. And who cares? You
Yeah,
know?
I think we wear it with pride, because it's yeah, we both love Rush. We've always loved Rush, and it's a big compliment. It's like the biggest compliment to be compared to them. So we wear it on our sleeve, man.
I agree with you, and I will make the comparison. I'm gonna make a compliment for you.
Yeah.
Uh, Your Stardust Fearless Part 2 and your Alcoholics, those two epics, for me are your 2112s.
Sick,
It's
dude.
it's
Thank
like
you.
your two best piece of work in your to me in your catalog, and it's like it sounds like Rush, but it's not Rush. It's Groundland. It's different. I I don't know how to say it, but the sound is inspired by. I mean, I think you're both great, great,
Absolutely.
great Rush fans, but it's unique also. So good
Thank
job.
We
you.
can be we'll be the Pepsi to their Coke.
Yeah.
I like
Thank
that.
you.
I like that. I talked a little bit about Inside Out music label a little earlier. You jumped with them, I think, in 2025. What has that relation brought you so far? How do you like this?
Oh,
It's brought us some really good conversations about Genesis and Rush with with Thomas and Freddie, the main guys at the label.
a lot more than that.
It led to us getting onto Cruise to the Edge where we actually finally got to meet everybody,
Mhm.
which was an amazing opportunity. Um,
It also got us all these amazing interviews. We've been doing interviews like nobody's business these days.
Crushing it. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's great. It's nice that they're based in Europe, which seems to be where we found the most vocal fan base for the band outside of Canada. Um, Ironically, not a whole lot of streaming out of Europe. No one really seems to be listening to our music there, but they seem to be buying the music,
Okay.
and you
Which is
know,
that's where
with,
it counts
with
for
the
sure.
limited spy tech that we own, we don't know who's actually listening to the vinyl records often. Maybe
These
we
little
need
cameras in the vinyl.
exactly. Oh, yeah. Don't tell them. Um, our plan's been ruined. How are we going to shoot content now?
It was just grooving to our record. That'd be cool.
Yeah, but we're excited. It's just the beginning of this relationship with them.
Yeah.
But it's been really great so far where it's nice to get on the phone with your record label and share common interests in music and in art because that's what we're doing is we're making art and so difficult to try to face this down as a business because every business prospect that you're handed um is a loss. You know, like there's no money in this. And so you have to really be passionate about what you're doing and share that passion with people. And
Yeah.
everyone at Inside Out that we work with is interested in the art and the pursuit of excellence. And that's all that matters, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a rough business to be in. But
Yeah. Because
everyone seems to be really, stoked about just making this the best
yeah.
artistic project that it can be.
Yeah,
A-
exactly.
and what I get from what you just said, the Inside Out are you have the liberty, the artistic liberty of doing what you want, like maybe not,
They've
not
Yeah.
they've encouraged it.
yeah,
Yeah, they've wanted us to get weirder and more progressive. In fact, when we sent them when we sent them Apocalypse, the record, not the single, they expressed maybe not disappointment, but surprise that a lot of the album contained shorter songs that didn't have as much adventurous musical passages as the title track. And they were like, oh, like a lot of this isn't very progressive, fellas. We're like, well, yeah, but that's kind of the vision where, you kind of you
Yeah.
get the 1-2 punch, kind
Yeah.
of similar to
yeah.
2012 where you have
Accessible.
shorter, more
Weird.
accessible material and, the more progressive side of the band.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because they're most excited about the weirder, more nerdy side of what we do, and that's
Yeah.
great.
Which I
Mhm.
think is influencing where we go next on our next record, quite a bit. I think we're getting weirder, which is exciting.
Well, you're right that
Grow older and
oh,
weirder,
sorry.
just like Gandalf.
Yeah.
You're right that on Apocalypse there's the weird or the really prog epic, and the
Mhm.
other songs are a little more. I wouldn't consider them pop or rock. It's prog pop, like a Saga or Mysteries, those
Yeah,
Canadian
yeah,
bands.
yeah.
I compared those shorter songs a little bit to more mainstream prog, I'll say, but it's
Totally.
still prog.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah.
Again, Rush, they wrote their epics, but they also wrote Middletown Dreams.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm.
And stuff.
What was Inside Out surprised though when they signed you? You were making, I'd say, classic prog, and the first two albums you do with them were Ritual One and Ritual Two, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we didn't have our stuff together for Apocalypse to come soon enough, and so we needed to put something out.
Yeah.
And those serve to, confuse and bewilder all of those who enjoyed our last records, which is good because confusion is needed. I'm confused all the time.
He doesn't even know where he is right
I
now.
know.
It was the logical follow-up to your con con permanent confusion.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah, but like, yeah, it was just because we didn't have Apocalypse ready, and
Yeah.
we had those records ready to go anyway, so figured why not.
Okay, good. You talked a little bit about your Cruise to the Edge shows. That was your first Cruise to the Edge, I think, right? It
Yeah,
was,
first
yeah.
first cruise period, which was
First cruise
awesome.
period. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw you on Cruise to the Edge, and it was my first my first cruise also,
Oh, sick.
coincidentally. And I caught both of your shows, which were really good. And how was the experience for you on this
It was
cruise?
fantastic. It was the best.
Yeah,
Which
Best.
show did you like better, Patrick?
Yeah.
the Atrium one.
Yeah, that felt really
It
good.
was intimate, an intimate show. Well, I like both, but it was very different. And on your side, how did you approach those two shows? For for the viewers that don't know, there are like 4 or 5 stages at Cruise to the Edge. Our Crown Lands did two shows, one on a big pool stage, a big outside stage with thousands of people, and one in the atrium, which holds about maybe 100, 150 people inside, next to a bar. So how was it different for you? How did you live that?
It's no different.
No different?
Yeah.
Just get on play.
Yeah, it feels the same. However, the audience definitely, I felt more connected with the intimate one. As you do, like the bigger the show, the less connected you feel to the audience. The smaller the
Yeah.
show, the more you feel that energy. But it was great, man. And like they treated us so well, and it just felt awesome to be there and are surrounded by people who understood prog rock to the level that we do, you know?
Yeah.
It's so
Uh,
cool.
and I guess you met a lot of musicians, made connections, I guess.
Tons, man. It's
Totally,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
man.
was really cool to talk to Tony Levin because we've
Uh-huh.
worked with David
Yeah.
Bottrell for so long, and Dave, helped a lot of those Peter Gabriel records. In fact, he even keyboard teched for the So tour, right?
Yeah.
And we always heard this funny story where Dave would sneak on stage because he's the only other guy who was shaving his head in the early 80s. And, so Tony and Dave kind of looked similar.
Yeah, they
Tony would
did.
sneak off stage and Dave would sneak on stage and play bass, while Peter would be, gallivanting around with the audience. Nobody noticed. And it was really cool to hear Tony confirm
Yeah,
those
you could.
stories. That was really cool.
It's so
And
fun.
yeah, Tony's just one of my all-time heroes, though. Just
Great.
like as a musician, as like a dude, he's just so cool and really nice to meet him. And same thing with Bill Bruford. Like, I mean, he's the
Oh,
master, literally
my
the master.
legend.
And that was really cool to chat with him. Um, Also, it was just great to chat with Larry, the guy who puts this whole thing on,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, man.
Amazing dude.
Yeah.
Just
I
you
had
gotta really believe in this kind of music to put something on like that every year. And,
Yeah, it felt
um,
like we were like introduced to the community, and like really embraced by it, which is sick because it's so isolated up here where there's only a couple other bands that play this kind of music. So, even that for us is like amazing up here in Canada. But when we go down in the States and we played cruise, it's like, oh, there's like a broader prog community and we're in it now. This is so cool. So making
That's
friends
good.
with all the other bands, who aren't as prolific as, you know, Tony Levin and Bill and Steve Hackett, all those other bands kind of in our same age bracket doing stuff that we're kind of doing. It was really cool to touch base with those guys and really talk to them and get to know them.
It is a really cool event, both for the artists and for the fans like me. Have you had you brought all your gear, like all your instruments, drums, etc., or
Funny story.
is this shared? Yeah.
So we didn't bring the drum kit, but being a prog cruise, their backline drum kit is better than Cody's kit, right? Like
It's
they had like a
amazing.
ridiculous, they had the amazing DW 9000 series hardware for everything. Like I
I
think
have that
Cody
too.
got as far as backline goes, Cody got spoiled. It was lovely.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing we flew with, I was able to get my rig down to 4 pieces of luggage. And in fact, on both of the flights, like the folks checking us in, took pity on us and gave us a couple of breaks so we didn't have to pay as much money, but it still costs a lot of money to check 4 oversized, overweight pieces of luggage. And so I flew with my double neck, triple guitar case with my 3 other guitars, um, my
Overhead.
synthesizer rig, and my pedal rig, but I didn't fly with my Taurus pedals because they're too heavy. So I backlined a set of Roland PK5As. Actually, I asked for two, and they said I would have two. And then when we get to the first show, the pool stage, they say, "Oh, we only have one because we thought one of them was a spare." And I was like, "No, I asked for two for a reason." However, due to scheduling, Big Train had also requested like these are they're basically like MIDI Taurus pedals, right? And so I need those to play all the keyboard parts with my feet. And due to scheduling conflicts, I only had one. And of course, this one set that they had was locked onto MIDI channel 14. But the problem is with these things, if you're communicating over one channel and your synthesizers are set on another channel, you're boned. And so I had to sprint back to my room during sound check and get my computer to program all of my synths to accept over a different MIDI channel. And so we have like 5 minutes before we're going on and like we're going through it. And like luckily I was able to reprogram everything in time. And I literally, as soon as I finished that, like it was time to play. And it worked out great. And I think that energy of like needing to like focus in and solve a problem with such a complex rig in that short amount of time. And everyone, who we worked with were, just class acts. So, backline guys really came through. Um, the techs, the monitor tech really came through, and it was, this great moment where everyone was like, "Got this problem, let's make it happen," right? And I think there's something really special about that when you have absolute chaos leading into a show, and you're like, but then you just lock in and you make it happen. And it all worked out. And I think because of that, the show had a certain energy for me, anyways. It was fun. And
Well,
sometimes, like, the more chaotic and traumatic it is, the more fun it is. I don't know. Maybe that's
Not for me. Not for me. Yeah, as soon as he started doing that, I was like, oh, I see that look in his eye. I need to get away from that.
yeah. I kind of love that. I live for that moment where it's like, I don't know. There's nowhere else. There's very few other career paths where, hey, you have this complex problem that you've never faced. You have 15 minutes to solve it, or the show doesn't happen. And it's like, okay. And then 10 minutes of those 15 minutes is sprinting from one side of a ship to another to get all the equipment you need to diagnose and solve the problem.
Anxiety is
Um,
not my friend.
but that's also why, people spend a lot of money to freight their own equipment to a show so they don't have to deal with backline gear that doesn't work properly.
Yeah,
What are you going to do though? It was fun and it worked out great. So
thank goodness.
there you go.
adrenaline helped you.
Yeah.
You should have given a few ounces of adrenaline to Cody. He would have felt better.
What's that? Oh, like
Uh,
give
uh,
Cody some
uh,
problems?
no,
Oh, Cody's got,
I was
Cody's
saying
got enough problems
you
to
could
solve.
have given a few ounces of adrenaline to Cody so that he would have felt better in this situation. But in the crowd, we didn't haven't noticed anything. I mean, it was the goal.
Were, were you
You reached the goal.
were you there for the sound check, Patrick?
No, I cut like I arrived in the middle of the first song.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Right on, right
Okay,
on.
All good.
Good. It
I
was
haven't experienced
frantic,
it.
man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it was definitely. I was just like, oh fuck, there's a
Yeah,
moment where I'm like, I
seriously.
don't know if we're gonna be able to play, because
He was
this
pacing.
key. Yeah, and like I'm just like asking the backline company guys like, so you gave me one that doesn't work the way I need it to, and the other one that I know will work is at the other stage with Big Train, and I'm like, I know there's one more on this ship because of I saw Steve Hackett with one. I'm like, can we send like a Hail Mary to Steve Hackett? And they're like, maybe. And I'm like, boys, like we gotta, it's got like 3 minutes right now. But then like I was just able to figure it out and make it
That's
happen.
crazy. I
For
love that
sure.
you're like, I know there's another one on the ship. Don't try
Yeah.
to fuck with me.
Yeah.
I saw
But
one.
no, but it all worked out. It all worked out great. Yeah, it all worked out.
It's a funny story. It's a cool story, which leads me to my next question related to your gear. Like when we hear you on stage, guys, you're just two, and it sounds like a full band. I mean, how do you do this? You said, Kevin, that you had pedals to make keyboards, but are there any backing tracks
Nope.
that you just play,
Oh,
start, and no?
No backing tracks, no
oh,
click tracks. It's all
that's a
live. If you're
that's
hearing
a
something that's coming from us, then we have to make it happen.
yeah.
Wow.
Because in progressive rock, if you're playing backing tracks, you're a hack and you deserve not to be praised for your work on stage. That's
Pretty
as far as
strong.
I'm concerned. Like different art forms require different things, right? I'm not
Yeah.
here to disparage anyone else using backing tracks. But I
It's
am here to disparage if you're playing progressive rock, which is a
yeah,
genre of music that celebrates the athleticism of
yeah.
musicality. And like that is a genre, and you go to see a jazz fusion band and you hear, amazing music and you see them with the laptop that's triggering stuff, you're like, I'm
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Right?
it's like, come on,
Pop
man.
music different,
Yeah,
R&B different, hip hop different, right? Different genres require different expectations.
absolutely.
This kind of music, if you hear it, it better be performed by somebody on stage.
Yeah,
That's
so
all.
we live by that standard, and so everything you hear is us doing the crazy circus thing.
Yeah. And, anything like, closely you could consider a track would be like my Oberheim has a couple of sequences that are programmed into it. Um, if I don't hit those, if I don't turn them on and off at the right time, it's
It's bad.
chaos. And like
We
that's
fall
because
off
of
it.
that. It's like um again, because it's real. If I'm
Perform.
not, if I'm not balancing on my heels at the right time to go and hit a B with my Taurus
Yeah,
pedals and
like
turn a B minor sequencer on off with my left foot at the same time, the show doesn't work. And I like that feeling of walking on the tightrope, and also having that ability to actually play it as a music as an instrument means that if you do make a mistake, you can pivot
so,
to it. Where I've seen so many train wrecks of bands that are bringing laptops on stage, triggering tracks, and then something gets out of sync, everything has to stop and be reset, and it's
yeah.
embarrassing to the nth
Oh,
degree.
oh
To
yeah.
see a band, like, oh yeah, laptop's not working, we can't play. I've seen that, and it's a joke. So you gotta
In
fight
prog
the good
rock,
fight.
at least you got to do this. Yeah, you got to do it all live.
But that's impressive. I mean, probably a lot of prog bands do this, but you're only two people. That's what is so impressive. How long do you rehearse for before a tour or before a show? That must be days and days. I mean,
Yeah, it is
I,
always days. Yeah, we never go and play a show without rehearsing at least a few times.
Yeah, like we try to get a couple weeks at least of rehearsals in before we rip.
But again, because we aren't running tracks, we can be a little bit more frivolous and fluid with the tracks, with the set list orders.
Mhm.
However, you know, we do have a certain flow that we like. If we're doing a half hour, 40-minute set or a headlining hour to hour and a half set, we kind of know how to tell a story and play with dynamics and tunings and make sure that the show, you know, does what a show needs to be, and it's not just like front or backloaded
Yeah.
or it eventually turns into white noise kind of thing when it's like I've spent 20
Yeah.
minutes listening to something that's really loud and now I've completely tuned out kind of thing.
Yeah.
We try to work really hard on that.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause
Mhm.
that sucks. Nobody wants to sit there and get just blasted.
I saw that you have a few shows coming up. Do you have a tour that would be put on later on, either in Canada, USA, or even maybe Europe? I think. Have you ever played in Europe?
No,
We
we've never done Europe. We've only done the UK.
Yeah.
We're
okay.
working really hard to figure out the solutions right now to actually go on the road and support this album and try to build the band and also just celebrate the love of playing music. It's really hard right now, dude.
It is.
Like I'm getting on the phone with our agent in like half an hour, like right after we end this call, just to like put our heads together to problem solve like a couple of like routing things for like a Western Canada run. And truthfully, dude, I don't think we're gonna be able to afford to do it. And it's like we can't even afford to tour our own country, with like minimal crew, right? This is, and
You have like two crew.
um, just the fuel costs right now, year rental costs, stacked against the reality of being a band that, we can play, when we headline, we play in front of 500 people, right? And when you're at that stage, you're playing clubs that can't really afford to take a risk on you because these are small clubs that are built around alcohol sales. And that isn't a sustainable model. And we got to catch like a glimpse of what could be. We just finished a performing arts center run where we did all these, municipally and provincially funded soft seat theaters that normally have like orchestras play. And because of that, the model is built differently where your tax dollars are actually are actually funding arts. And in a country this empty, you need venues that are publicly funded, right? And we have them. And the problem is most rock bands are not booking those rooms for one reason or another. And we caught this glimpse of like what could and should be in the music industry of Canada, where there isn't a music industry here. There just isn't enough people to sustain it. And because of that, what we call the music industry is propped up by government subsidies, known as factor grants, star maker grants, and most of the festivals are funded by the municipal or provincial governments, or in the case of factor, federal. And we need that because there's just not enough people who can afford to go out and spend $100 to support a up and coming band. And you're seeing it right now. Like even stadium tours are going down like every day, right? Like the Post Malone tour, gone. Pussycat Dolls tour, gone. Luckily, the Rush tour is happening because enough people want to see that. But most people can't afford to go out to see live music anymore.
Yeah, it's getting too expensive to live. And not
Yeah,
to mention our country is massive. So like touring that, making
Yeah.
that work logistically is crazy difficult, you know, just geographically in Canada, we're not blessed with having cities that are so close together. It's like
Yeah.
8 hour drives between a lot of these cities, and it's brutal.
Yeah, it's not like Europe, like you can do multiple shows in multiple countries in one week.
Yeah.
Forget
Yeah,
this.
man.
Forget about this
Like
here. Yeah.
if we were based in Europe, it would be a totally different
Yeah.
story.
Mm.
yeah. I mean, again, like I love Canada. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
same.
more I love the idea of Canada. I think, we have a long way to go to make this a place that is friendly towards art.
Yeah.
This,
Yeah.
I think culturally and socially, um, Canadians don't prioritize other Canadian artists.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
think
not until
Yeah.
artists go elsewhere that they're even recognized in this country.
yeah.
And it's a tale as old as time, and I doubt it's going to change unless we um, actively choose to support Canadian artists. And I have yet to see that.
Yeah, that being said, I think the place that supports our music specifically the most is Quebec. You know, like people in Quebec seem to like have a more of a finger on the pulse of like the cool like prog stuff, you know, and they have an appreciation for it more, I think, than we've seen elsewhere
Yeah.
in Canada, where they kind of feel like it feels like they get it more. Like whenever we go there, we have like the best reception and it's awesome.
Well,
But yeah,
it's historically Quebec is one of the like in the 70s with Genesis and Pink Floyd. Quebec was the first city I think in Canada to welcome those unknown bands at the time,
that's cool.
and we all, Quebec always has always kept a prog culture, I would say. And yes, you're right. There are festivals in Quebec, prog festivals, which you don't really see anymore in Canada, even in North America. So we have one left here, and one we have three festivals in Quebec, Prague festivals yearly. So yeah, you're right, Cody. It's I'm not surprised that you have that you're very welcome when you come here.
Mhm.
People know their Prague, love their Prague, and we are always looking to encourage Canadian bands also. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
it's
are
like
the prog festivals that are out there, Patrick? I'd love to see
yeah.
what we can do.
The-
Yeah.
yeah, well, there is a Terra Incognita that is in two
Okay.
weeks in Quebec.
Sick.
There are some artists from Quebec, some artists from Europe also will be there. There's the Prague Storm, no, Prague Fest in Quebec in November.
What?
It's more Quebec based, like French and English, but Quebec. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a Prague Fest. This is a new festival. It will be the first year. And
Right.
there's another one in Montreal that I can get. I don't remember the name exactly,
The
but it's
Prog
more,
Storm?
yeah, Progstorm. It's more heavy stuff. But
Cool.
you do
Hey,
some heavy stuff, so so those are the three festivals I was referring to.
that's so
Yeah.
cool, man. Wow. Yeah, see, I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta get on these, man.
Yeah, exactly. We
Love
do
to.
gotta get on you. Yeah, bro.
If you don't mind, I'd like to continue a little bit talking
Yeah.
about shows because I know you've toured with some great acts like Kiss, Jack White from the White Stripe, etc. Do you have an anecdote, a memorable story from one of those experiences that you could tell us?
I mean, I just had like a
Or,
funny moment
or
with Jack White where
okay,
I kept hearing this like whooping sound like down the hall, and we were in our green room, and I was kind of like getting ready to warm up. I just had some food set aside, and I was wandering the venue, and I kept hearing this weird sound, and I just kept following it, and I ended up passing by I think Jack's dressing room, and he was in the middle of like powdering his face. And then he like looks up in the mirror and he like made eye contact with me and I think I wasn't supposed to see it and I was like, "Oh shit." And I just like ran away back to my room. And it scared me. He was so intimidating. I don't know. It felt like he was like it feels like he's like the last rock star to kind of like do the thing, you know? Like in history, like it feels like he was the last real true rock star and like it just you just felt his presence. And that was like a funny little moment.
Cool, thanks. Um, we talked a little bit about Canadian bands, and there's one band I want to talk about with you guys. Um, Brass Camel.
Yeah.
Kevin, you once said, and I quote you, "I have seen the future of prog rock, and it's Brass Camel." I'm a big fan of Brass Camel. I've known them for maybe just a couple of months, but I'm fond of them, and I'd like to know. I think you met them. You've met them after one of their shows or one of your shows, something like that. And could you maybe tell us a little bit about what your relation with Brass Camel is?
Yeah, I mean, I personally I think they're the best band in this country, far, far and away. It's just unbelievable what those guys do.
Really?
I I've been in touch with them for, a long time based on, just being, you know, a fellow progressive rock bands in Canada. And they were on tour for their first record, finishing up their second record a year and a half ago, and they came through Toronto. And so like I went to go see them at the Great Hall in Toronto, and I was really, really impressed musically. And I invited them up to the studio that we work at, which is Chalet Studio in Uxbridge. And so they had a day off, and they came up, and they were really impressed with my instrument collection. And so we ended up actually tracking just a few keyboard moments for the second record of theirs, right? So they needed to lay down some Taurus pedals for a couple parts. So we spent the day doing that, and then the rest of the day hanging out and jamming Genesis and Rush, and Cody came up for a bit of that, and we literally just played every prog song that we knew. And really, just really special guys, really truly kindred spirits. And
Yeah,
I was really
great.
impressed by uh, the dedication that these five guys had to the lifestyle, because that's what it really takes to be successful, is not just good music, but the willingness for, one of the guys to be cooking all the food, another guy taking care of the mechanics of the bus. There was an anecdote like later on, because like I went on to produce their third record, their self-titled Brass Camel record that just came out, and because we enjoyed working in the studio so much that one day that when they came back, again, this is what I'm talking about, dedication to it. I've never seen another band do this. When they came on tour to support their second record, they dedicated a week of off time in between their Quebec dates and their Western leg to come to Chalet and record their third album. I don't see any bands doing that. The only other bands that I've ever heard about doing that are like from the 70s, like you hear Elton John doing something like that or Rush doing something like that. I haven't seen anyone else that hungry for it ever. And they're just really special. And they cut most of that record live off the floor,
Mhm.
and a few days of keyboard overdubs, which was my favorite part, because you get this guy Aubrey, the keyboard player, is ridiculous. I mean, that guy is a machine. I don't really know anyone else who can play like that. The closest thing would be Dan, the singer and guitar player in that band. That guy is scary good at everything. And yeah, they're doing it, and it was a pleasure to work with them in the studio. And then um, from working with Terry Brown, who had done all the first 10 Rush records, he's mixed and produced a number of projects with us over the years for Crownlands. And so I linked the band with Terry, and Terry mixed this record, and it's my favorite, body of music that they've put out, where it's so esoteric, right? Like every song is a journey where it's, it's 3 minutes or 4 minutes of music, but it may as well be an epic, the amount of ideas that are presented in each song. And they're an inspiration to us, man. I think, whenever Cody listens to their stuff, Cody's like, wait a second, how do we call ourselves prog when these guys exist? It's really, really wild stuff.
It's more like, yeah, it's more like Frank Zappa to Rush
Yeah.
kind of vibe, right? It's like they kind of do the Zappa freak out, crazy avant-garde shit. Um, which is really cool and crazy and inspiring. Where we kind of do more of like we balance more of like the accessibility and the songs that kind of like can connect with people on like a more songwriting song
Yeah.
level.
Cool. You mentioned Terry Brown. I think you've known him for quite a while.
Quite
We
a while.
have, yeah.
Yes.
How did you meet him?
It was through a good friend, Paul Luxus. He worked with Terry's daughter in the beer industry for a number of years. And it's funny, like when we played a bunch of these festivals, like these small like beer like craft beer festivals, and we didn't realize that Emma Brown, who was running all of these, was in fact Terry Brown's daughter. And when it all kind of came to fruition, we linked up with Terry, went out for lunch with him, and I asked him about 3 million questions about the process of recording all of these classic records. And he was very gracious and generous with his time. And then we ended up working with him on a couple of early versions of some songs that would eventually be released, like Context Fearless Part 1. And then we worked with him alongside David Barrett on a number of projects. David Barrett's this amazing guitar player. We've done two instrumental records with him. One that was released a few years ago called Mayapan, and another one that's going to be coming out later this year as well that Terry produced and mixed, and it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
And yeah, Terry's just always been like the master of the mid-range punch. He just still has that magic touch to get things to hit you right in your gut. He's the best.
It's a great
Another
guy.
another producer that I think Kevin you love is Lindsey Buckingham. As I read something about this from Fleetwood Mac. What is it about his approach that inspires you, or what do you like about his approach either as a writer or as a producer?
He's kind of like Jimmy Page taken to the next level from a production standpoint, right? Like Jimmy, phenomenal arranger, writer, guitar player, and Lindsey, same thing, phenomenal arranger, writer, guitar player, and producer, where he just so many of those classic Fleetwood Mac recordings are classic because of what he brought to them. And clever things like on Secondhand News, right? Where that percussion bit on that was, he cut it as a demo, like on a leather chair of him just like stopping that rhythm. And it can't really be replicated anywhere else. And so it made it to the final recording. And there's a lot of things that we've done, especially on the Ritual records, where Cody was, we have this bass trap in the corner of the studio that's made out of, felt and fiberglass and wood. And it soaks up all the low end in this corner. And I think the music sounds better in that spot, and maybe it inspired Cody in a certain way where you kind of feel it in your tummy. And Cody was just like coming up with this amazing rhythm on one of the songs on Ritual, and it sounded killer. And so we mic'd it up and recorded it.
Yeah, it was
That's one of
great.
the main parts of Respite
Yeah,
on Ritual. And so it's just drawing inspiration from people who get great sounds regardless of what the source is. And
yeah,
I think that, that goes through, us taking the production mantle on the Apocalypse record too, right? Where a lot of the demo guitars ended up the final guitars because there's a vibe and a sound to it, and you could spend a week trying to recreate or improve on it, or you just leave it and let it honor the spirit of the song.
Great. And since we're talking about Lindsey Buckingham, who's not really a prog artist, well, Fleetwood Mac has some kind of
His right
progressive,
hand technique is
yeah,
wild. There's very few prog guitar players with with right
Yeah.
hand technique like that guy.
Yeah, oh, he's great. I love him also. Maybe a last question for this interview that you could answer each of you one at a time. Is there an artist that you love, but who's completely outside of your musical world? Like it's non-prog. It's maybe we're gonna be surprised to hear your answers. Do you have any artist like that is non-prog that you really like?
Yeah, like 90% of my music that I listen to is non-prog
Yeah,
for sure. Um, yeah, my favorite being Michael Jackson.
cool,
Yeah.
cool. I guess
Hmm.
also you must like you said that you really liked world music. I guess you must like Peter Gabriel output in the
Love,
80s
yeah,
and
love,
90s.
love Peter Gabriel. There's this really
Yeah.
cool Moroccan French band that I've been getting into a lot lately called Babel Blues.
Yep.
And they play like a fusion, like this cool fusion of like blues rock mixed with traditional Amazigh music from North Africa. It's badass. It's so cool.
No, I haven't heard about them. I'll check them out. And
Yeah, they're
what
really
about you, Kevin?
Are we talking about artists that we like to listen to or artists that
good.
inspire us?
I don't mind. It's up to you.
Yeah.
All right. Hmm. I mean, I love Shania Twain.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah,
I think like
go
some of
for
the
it.
playing and writing on those records is unbelievable. Production's next level. Like Mutt Lange's a genius.
Oh, yes.
It's funny that you mentioned Peter Gabriel, but yeah, like I would definitely say Peter Gabriel, even at his, his most pop, is still very prog, I'd say like I put So and Security, Melt, Scratch, all of his solo records. I'd say there's always a thread of progressive music, you know, going through it. That's some of my favorite music ever. Gabriel rules. Um, but I can't really say that again because like that's still prog for me. Um, Yeah, Shania Twain's a great one. I like the Spice Girls. Spice Girls rule, dude.
Mhm.
How to tell you grew up with a sister without saying you grew up with a sister. I love
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Well, those are great answers. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Hell yeah.
Well, that's it for today. C'est déjà tout pour cette entrevue. We could go on for another hour or so, but we leave it here. Thank you very much for your time, guys. I really appreciate it. It was a great interview, fun interview. And thanks everyone for watching. So take care, guys. See you next
Take
time.
care.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Pat. Nice to meet you, man. See ya.
Bye
See
bye.
ya.